Yeah.
Hey, kia ora, Helen Brahms here, coming to you live from Sun City in Arizona, and we are on day 1105 of continual live streams. And this is the Before the Dirt Nap podcast. Live your best life now. And this evening, my guest is Nicole Lanni, and you guys have to get to know. She is an incredible person, and I'm going to quickly read her bio for you, and then you're going to get to know her pretty well, because she's going to be coming in as our resident health expert to help you live your best life now on the second Tuesday of every month. So Nicole Lanni is a cellular health coach and functional bloodwork specialist. Now, to tell you, that alone just sort of like that sounds. I'm fascinated already. I got no idea what any of it does, but it fascinates me. Helping people who are frustrated with their health healed at the cellular level through nutrition, cellular detoxing, and their DNA profiles. Now, you guys know with genealogists here, we're all about DNA. Nicole is the founder of the Complete Cellular Detox and Feeling Groovy Wellness and Spa. After being exposed to toxic mold for over 20 years ago, Nicole suffered a brain fog, chronic coughing, swelling, and inflammation throughout her body, weight loss resistance, heart issues, and autoimmune symptoms. I can't read today. I should put my glasses on. After exhausting everything she could think of, both medically and holistically, she finally, after years of suffering, got to the root cause of all of her symptoms and healed herself at the cellular level. How cool is that? Nicole went even further and used her DNA to create a health blueprint to turn off the genes of the health conditions she is predisposed to, such as Alzheimer's, heart disease, and even addiction, through nutrition and supplements. And after a few short months, literally gained back 20 years of lost health. See why you guys need to get to know her? As a certified nutritionist, cellular health coach, functional bloodwork specialist, master NLP trainer, and hypnotherapist, through doctors' referrals and previous client recommendations, Nicole has combined all of her skills to help over 5,000 clients reduce their inflammation, which is the leading cause of most disease. Nicole has been featured on This Is LA, ABC, Hulu, and CBS News. Nicole is an author and speaker and has been on over 100 stages speaking on topics including women's empowerment, health and nutrition, inflammation, and releasing negative thoughts and emotions. Nicole, welcome to the Before the Dirt Nap podcast.
Thanks, Helen. I am so happy to be here and just so grateful that you invited me to be part of this podcast. And I'm just super grateful. So thank you very much.
So we were talking before we went live about making health our priority. Because when you want to live your best life now, if you don't have your health, how can you live your best life now?
That's right. So exactly. If you don't have your health, what do you have? So I think through my bio, you could probably tell, as a wellness coach for years and years, I was kind of suffering in silence. And I think that a lot of people do the same thing. I think that a lot of people have health things. I mean, you might have that complainer, that person that is always talking about, oh, my back hurts or this hurts or, I'm not feeling well. But for the most part, I think most people want to project that they feel healthy and happy and they want to show their best self, right? But I think a lot of people suffer in silence and they don't want to talk about, the things that are really going on with them on the inside. And so they don't necessarily address them. And if we don't address those issues, then their health deteriorates quicker than they want it to, right? Or we don't live as long as we want to because we have things going on in the background, especially any kind of inflammation. And you can't live your best life if you don't address your health now, whatever's going on with you now. So I think that's really, if I could shout that from the rooftops to so many people, is to make your health a priority. How many people don't want to go to a doctor? How many people don't even want to get an annual checkup or a mammogram or a lot of the, a lot of things that are invasive, especially for women? They don't want to do those things.
Well, but if I will be one that raises my hand and says, I don't go to the doctor unless absolutely necessary. I have years between visits to the doctors, even for annual exams, because back in New Zealand, it's every 3 years. And over here, it was like a yearly thing. I'm like, I don't need to go every year. I don't want to get poked and prodded every year. I will come when I'm ready to come. And then I get the doctors all in a panic, like, oh, you haven't had a mammogram in 4 years. We need to get you on a mammogram. And I'm like, my boobs are fine.
I found a new scan. It's called her scan. And
Okay.
they actually do a scan instead of like squishing, like any woman who's had a mammogram knows, like the clamp. And so I love that when I can find things that are a little easier on our bodies, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that aren't so, and things that aren't as invasive. So, because I tend to be on the holistic side of things and things that what can we do to prevent X, Y, and Z. And so I love that there's more and more. We're starting to see more and more things out there that you don't have to go to the doctor every year, or things that you can do on a daily basis. So you don't have to see a doctor for all those tests and prompts and, as constant as they want us to.
Yeah,
Right.
and and half the time I think it's. Oh no, I'm not even going to open that can of worms.
Jared, don't open the door.
I was about to say something, and I suddenly thought, yeah, no, we're not going to go there. We're not going down that rabbit hole. Um, but I also think too that when we take care of our health and we make it our priority, we become very in tune with our bodies, and we know when something is off immediately.
Exactly.
Um, like right now, I'm on a health and wellness plan, and they sent me these supplements to take, and I took the new supplement. I took that, and like within an hour, I had really bad cramps. And to me, it felt like I had eaten onions, and I'm allergic to onions. The body has an adverse reaction to onions, not anaphylactic shock. Thank goodness for that. Um, but it has an adverse reaction to onions, and it felt like I had eaten onions. Yet there's nothing on the ingredients on the
Right.
label that suggests anything relating to onions. And
Hmm.
so I sent it back to the coach and says, this is what's happened. And she turned around and says, yeah, we'll just stop taking that one.
Yeah, it's important to listen to our bodies. So I had such an interesting experience. I was actually in a coma, and this was back in 2001, so 2001. And I was exposed to toxic mold and ended up with toxic mold in my lungs. And I had a couple of surgeries. And in my last surgery that I had, I just took a timeout for 4 months. So my body was like done. So during that 4 months, I was hooked up to IVs. Obviously, they had to intravenously feed me, right? So thank goodness I had an amazing doctor, and he gave me the best advice ever. Like, I hold on to this advice every single day. So the first time on your show, I guess it's a good thing for me to share this advice.
What's
So
that?
when I woke up and decided to rejoin the world, right? I had asked him, what do I need to do to live? Because I was scared.
Mm-hmm.
I was really scared. What do I need to do to live? And he said, Nicole, this is what you need. And he said, I do not know if you're religious, if you're not religious, what your affiliation with anything is, but whatever your faith is, I need you to magnify that by 10. And this is what he said. I don't care if you pray to a damn rock. I don't care if you pray to your cat. I don't care if you pray to God. Whatever it is that works for you, I need you to magnify that by 10. And then once you've done that, I need you to magnify that by 100, because it
Nice.
doesn't matter what religion we have in our life or what spirituality we have, you have to have faith that you're going to be well. So that was piece number one. He said the next thing you need doctors who really care about you and that remember that they are practicing medicine. Medicine changes every single day. And when you
Mm-hmm.
find the doctors who remember that they're practicing and they're humble enough to remember that you're practicing, then and that take the time to listen to you, then you found the right doctor for you. But they have to remember that they're practicing. So he says, unfortunately, a lot of doctors have ego and they let that get in their way. And I thought, well,
Interesting.
how interesting is that? He says the third thing you need is some holistic health. And I was like, what is that at that point in my life, right? What do you mean? How do I get some holistic health? Can I just get that in the store? And he said, I think we need to try some alternative treatments for you because, not everything we're doing with Western medicine is working. So we did acupuncture. We did a hyperbaric chamber because I was having such a hard time breathing.
Mm-hmm.
We changed my nutrition. And instead of physical therapy, his wife came and took me to yoga. And at the
Nice.
time, I couldn't even move. Like I'd sit on the back wall and like kind of stretch my legs out, and I probably look like some crazy lady back there. But I was moving. Movement is so important. And so that is really the foundation of who I am, because I took all of that, and I was so grateful that he literally saved my life, that I wanted to share that with so many other people. But I live by that every day now. Like those are the things that we really need is, and to be mindful of like what's going on and listening to our body. So during that whole time, fast forward 20 years, right? So I took back my own health using cellular health, because I still had some residual things happening and inflammation was still going on. So all of a sudden I went on this basically an AIP diet, an autoimmune protocol, where you just eat meat, fruits, and vegetables, and not all vegetables, but that's basically what you eat for a few months. And you eliminate all the processed foods in your life. And then you reintroduce foods. Well, when I started reintroducing foods, all of a sudden, well, when I started eliminating the foods, my husband's the one who noticed. He says, "Hey, sometimes when you eat and you get that cough after you eat." And I said, "Yeah." He says, "Well, you stopped doing that." I'm like, "I did." I hadn't even realized that I had stopped, but I had taken all processed foods down. So then when I started bringing foods back in, right, slowly, all of a sudden, when I would eat something that my body didn't like, guess what would happen?
You'd cough.
Kind of like I would get that cough. So for 20 years, I had this cough, right? I stopped coughing when I was getting that intravenous food for 4 months. But for 20 years, I had this cough every time I'd eat. If something didn't agree with me, but my doctor had attributed it to the mold in my lungs.
Interesting.
But that's not what it was. So now I've learned to listen to my body, right? Because I want to live my best life, especially if I'm helping others. And so now I know when I get that little bit of a cough, it's usually the first sign that my body is having not necessarily a full allergic reaction, but a sensitivity to a food.
Mm-hmm.
So our body gives us clues. Our body definitely will give us the answers that we're seeking, but sometimes we don't know how to listen to ourselves.
I love that. And I have to go back to number one with your doctor about the faith thing.
Yeah.
So I have a quick story about faith. When Brad was in hospital the first time, when he was first diagnosed with cancer back in 2008 and went in for his first surgery, where they took out 12 inches of colon and rectum, and sewed it all back together, and he had the temporary ileostomy. That was our ostomy from hell. I remember we always had to get up and walk around the wards because walking was the best way to wake the digestive system up. It's the best movement, it's the best exercise for the digestive system to help it process. And that's why they always suggest going for walks after you eat, because it helps the body digest the foods. But as we're walking around, we stopped at one point, and they have in the hospital, they had up on the wall like the 10 steps for patient care, their practices. Mm-hmm. I couldn't tell you what the first 9 are. I have absolutely zero clue.
But the 10th one was faith?
No, the 10th one was allow room for miracles to happen. And so every now and again, when Brad and I were having it, fortunately, we were never down at the same time. But if one of us was down and just like feeling like this isn't working, starting to get that negativity come in, we would go to each other, number 10.
Isn't that awesome?
Yeah. And we carried that throughout the rest of his cancer journey. But every time I hear people talking of faith and doctors and stuff, and with the doctors giving that advice, I always think rule number 10. Rule number 10.
Rule number 10. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah. And then my other one is with the universe. There's a book called The Universe Has Your Back. And I like the way that this book is written, because at the beginning she explains the universe is whoever or whatever faith or spiritual thing that being that you have in your life. Like the doctor said, I don't care if you pray to the rock or whatever. If that rock is your thing, that's your universe.
Right.
I got to show my duck. So this duck was given to me last year by the trainer I had at the genealogy course I was on. And there's a thing that's called talk to the duck. If you have a problem, you talk to the duck. And it was started by a guy who was a software programmer, I think he was. And if he had problems, he would walk around with a rubber duck and talk to it to help talk out the problem and try and find the solution. And it started this whole talk talk to the duck mentality or whatever. If you want to pray to a duck, then that's your universe. Whatever it is, whether it's God, whether it's Buddha, whether it's Hindu, whatever your faith is, even if you don't have a faith or a religion, you've got the universe. So
That's
it's
right.
whatever. So I love it when people put that thing there with the universe. And it's interesting because when I do my little cards in the morning on TikTok and all that, I get some people going, I don't pray to the universe, I pray to God. And I go, excellent. That's who your universe is. Perfect.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah.
So I love that your doctor said that and said that to you. And it just reminded me, rule number 10, and the universe has your back.
Always.
Yeah.
Always.
Always. And all
Always.
things. And
The
you get more
whole
science.
thing.
And I love the science because I had a problem with, I got restless leg syndrome. Couldn't figure out why. It was a reaction to peanuts. Took peanuts out of there, no more restless leg syndrome.
Isn't that amazing? So
Yeah.
I think our bodies have some sensitivities that sometimes we just don't realize. And so one of the big things I tell clients is we need to listen to what's happening with our bodies,
Mm-hmm.
and the whole thing is we are what we eat is really more, it holds more true than what I think people realize is we are what we eat because, if you're putting those healthy whole foods into our bodies on a consistent basis, then we have less digestive issues, less, less headaches, less this, like I could give you a whole list, right? But when we start eating all those other yummy things that are out there, right, oftentimes our bodies will react. And we don't necessarily listen. We're so busy in our lives, we're not listening to our bodies. So I always try to tell my clients, especially at night after they eat, just take some moments. Like, first of all, I think eating is kind of spiritual. Like, I think that, we need to eat and really kind of consume our food and be grateful for that food and
Mm-hmm.
let it digest. Also, don't drink a lot while you're eating because we want your body to naturally break down that food with the enzymes that are in your stomach. So a lot of people drink a lot while they're eating. So that's just a great little health tip is, have a little bit of water or something before, or wine or whatever you want to drink before, but don't drink a lot while you're eating your food. Let it digest naturally with the enzymes that are in your stomach and let it break down because it helps your digestion system does
Okay,
that
now I'm
for you.
taking a note of that one. Don't drink water while eating.
Right. And so what your body do, but that's a great time after you're eating. A lot of people get up and they start doing things as soon as they're done eating. And it's a great time where you can sit and talk to, if you have a partner, sit and talk to your partner. Or if you have, you want to watch a show or you want to read for a few minutes or do something. So your body's actually resting while it's digesting, like give your body that chance. Your body actually functions so much better. It's amazing, but we don't take that time. Oftentimes we eat and then we're on the go. Right?
It's like, you don't go swimming for like 30 minutes to an hour after you eat.
Right.
There's a
Right.
reason to do that. It's like with Zephy, when we do our evening walks, I either do it before I eat or after I eat. And if I'm doing it after I eat, we've got to wait 30 minutes before we go for our walk.
There you go.
But then she sits like right here when I'm eating because she wants
She's
her
like,
tidbits. So immediately as soon as I finish eating, before she can jump down, arms are around her and it's puppy hug time.
oh, see, that's a good time just to, and then listen to your body. Like, what is your body telling you? Did it like the food that it ate? Does it not like the food that it ate? Is it, how are you feeling? So I had somebody tell me, oh my goodness, every time I eat lately, my left arm gets tingly. Am I having heart problems? And I'm like, no, that's not a heart problem, but what are you eating? So we started talking about what she was eating and we realized, so she was actually doing, she was on a diet. Somebody had given her a diet. I hate that word diet, but she was on a food plan.
Eating plan or a food
Yes,
plan.
she was on a food plan and it was so rich in vitamins. And so a lot of people get tingly arms if they have too much vitamin B. So
that's interesting.
yeah, and so
What a
when we
soluble
started talking
vitamin.
about what she was eating, vitamin B and vitamin K, I went, oh, I bet you it's because you're not used to eating all of these whole foods. And so we switched a few things around for her and the tingling went away in her arms. So it's just really interesting when you start listening to your body, like the peanuts. You took peanuts out and your restless legs went away, So when we listen, our body gives us a lot of clues.
Yeah, and when I eat anything with gluten, I get bloated.
That's very common. It's very common. And it's not necessarily gluten. So it's a lot of times it's actually glyphosate that's in the gluten. So we have
Whatever it is, when I eat bread that's got gluten in it, I have issue. I
there
get
you
bloated.
go. Yeah, it
Because
happens.
if I
I
have
mean,
gluten-free bread, I don't get the issue so much.
there's a lot of lectins and things, and but there's a
Yeah.
lot of Roundup in our food, and so especially our wheat. And so a lot of people are very sensitive to the glyphosate, and they think that they have, they don't have celiac disease. They actually have a sensitivity to either the wheat or the Roundup that's actually sprayed on the food. So, and
Yeah.
then they'll go to other countries and they don't have the same sensitivity, and then they're like, "What?" And I'm like, "Yep, it's the glyphosate."
I can go home to New Zealand and I can eat all the bread, the cheese, the peanuts,
Mm-hmm.
everything that I want, except onions, because I don't like the reaction I have to onions. And when you're in New Zealand, you're there to visit family, not spend the time in the bathroom. And so onions the only thing I won't eat when I'm back home, but I will eat everything else and not have one reaction.
Yeah.
And if I come back over here and try to eat those same foods, we have issues.
Yeah, we do. Unfortunately, we just spray too much of our food, and there's a lot of processed foods. There's just things. So, you know, you take the antibiotics out of meat and you have healthier meat. You stop spraying all the. So one of the things that people don't know, a lot of people eat a ton of almonds, right? And almonds are one of the nuts that get sprayed the most with Roundup and glyphosate. So a lot of people have reactions
Really?
to almonds. Yeah. Yeah. But again, they're sprayed like wheat is sprayed. And so they have an adverse reaction. But it's not really to the nut. It's to the weed killer that they're putting on our fruits and vegetables and nuts. so,
Reason to go organic.
look for organic almonds, because then you don't have to worry about the glyphosate.
Yeah, well,
So
thankfully, I'm at the bottom of my container of mixed nuts because I get this. Well, because nuts is one of the things that's is one of my snacks that I can have, and so I get this mixed nuts that does not have peanuts in it. So it's a peanut
good.
nut mix. But now that you're talking about the almonds, I'm sort of like, is this an organic mix that I get or a non-organic?
Yeah, you're
Well, now
gonna
I
be
got to go
looking.
and check.
We
And
could do a segment on reading labels. That would be really a fun segment.
we could do that. I mean,
Yeah.
you're going to be with us every second Tuesday of the month, so we could
Mhm.
definitely, because our health is so important. And one of the reasons that I've asked Nicole to come on and be such a regular guest with us is because our health is super, super important. If you want to live your best life now, if you want to go traveling, if you want these adventures that we talk about and everything else, if you want to be able to do them, you've got to have the body to do it.
That's right.
And if you're not taking care of your body, if you're not taking care of your health, you're not going to be able to do a lot of things. You can have all the money in the world, you can have all the time in the world, but if you don't have your health, what are you going to do?
You can't do any of it,
You
right?
can't.
You
People want to
can't.
go traveling, and now with all the different restrictions that some countries have, if you're coming into our country, you have to have this. Da, 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 here's the requirements for coming in, and all this sort of stuff going on now. And I'm one of those people that can't. I don't do very well with vaccines.
Yeah,
I have reactions to them, so I just don't do them because
right.
my body has such an adverse reaction to them. But I always tell myself, I am super healthy. I have a super immune system.
Yeah,
And I've become very conscious over especially the last few months, what am I actually eating? And taking note of it. And like you said, I'm listening to the body. I've always listened to my body over the years. In fact, if Brad was alive, he'd be able to tell you how often I went to the doctor.
very
And
little.
very little. One of the things, though, is that every change of season, I would end up with an ear infection, which would turn to vertigo. And then I'd be on the Z pack of antibiotics. I hate taking medication and I always tell the doctor, and whenever I get a new doctor, I'm like, I'll let you know, we're going to have this conversation right here, right now, is that I do not take medication unless it is absolutely required. You're not
Exactly.
putting me on any medication just for the sake of putting me on medication. We are going to have a discussion. And so they're also like, oh, okay. And I've had some really good doctors over there, and some of them just sort of like looked at me like, yeah, that ain't going to happen. And I'm just like, bye.
But there's some great supplements that can help with infections. Although, if you are really sick, so I was sharing with you before the show, I
Mhm.
actually got very ill last week. And I'm one of those people that I try to take very great care of my health. and I only go to the doctor as necessary, right? So I ended up with
and I get on so well together.
brutal, brutal cough. I had this brutal cough, and it was just getting worse and worse. And I went to an event. I was so excited. It was the first live event I've been to since COVID. And I was just, I love people. So being around people, I was just like so excited to be there. And by the time I got home at 11:30 in the evening, every step was like an effort, right? Like I really was sick. And so the next morning when I turned to my husband and I said, I really need you to take me to the doctor. I thought he was going to like fall over because he's like, what? But he knew the cough was bad, and he knew I was like, I just had no energy. So I went into the doctor, and sure enough, they said I had walking pneumonia. I'm like, how in the heck did that happen? I mean, I went from being healthy to like really having something. And so, of course, they prescribed antibiotics. And, you know, being as holistic as I am, I hate taking anything. There's a lot of supplements we can take that will help fight infections. But I knew, like in my heart, I knew, like when you are sick, is a time that you should take something. So,
Yep.
of course, I went home and I cried first because I was sick and not feeling well, and I didn't want to take antibiotics. And the reason I didn't want to take them is I didn't want to wreck my gut biome. And so I just kind of got to laugh at myself going, oh my goodness, just take the darn antibiotics. So obviously I'm feeling much better. I'm on here today and I'm not coughing, and, you know, and I'm walking.
We're so glad that you are here with us today.
And so the antibiotics did what they did. And the nice thing is I know how to fix my gut. And so taking care of our gut is super important as well. So, you know, I've been eating all those raw fermented foods in the last few days, and I have some great supplements to take. So, you know, I know how to fix it, and I'm really happy that I have that knowledge. But there again, we do need doctors in our lives, and there is times that we do need medication. So
Yes.
it's listening to our bodies going, I knew at that point that I was sick and I needed to see somebody to make sure, you know, that everything was going to be okay. So I think that's the key, is learning the balance and learning when we do need to go and what we need to do to take care of ourselves.
Absolutely. And I mean, I'm right there. I'm like, you know, I tell the doctor, and if absolutely necessary. And with the ear infections, I have not had an ear infection or vertigo since November 2012,
Isn't that amazing?
because I found somebody who, with essential oils,
Mm-hmm.
and I heard a story about how the tea tree oil or melaleuca helped clear up an ear infection.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, tell me that story.
Mm-hmm.
And because I had just gone through another Z pack for the change of season thing in November of 2012, and they told me the story about how they put melaleuca on a couple of drops on a cotton ball and just held it over a baby's ear. Didn't put it in there, just held it over, and how the oils diffused into the air and cleared up the infection in like 30 minutes. I'm like, okay, I need me some of that. So when I feel it coming on now, because I can, you know, listen to my body, I know when my balance is starting to get affected, and I think, okay, we've got an ear infection. So I take the cotton balls, I split them in half, put one drop on each, put them just on the inside of the ear so it just holds it there, and leave it there for about 30 minutes. But I have a roller, one that's watered down, and just run it down the back of the ear and just underneath the jaw here on both sides. And I'll go to sleep like that, wake up the next morning, it's completely gone.
It's amazing.
Haven't been on a Z pack for an ear infection, haven't had a case of vertigo since November 2012 because I learned that one thing.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And I know when it comes on, and I know what to do when my body feels like a cold's coming on.
There you go. And now you know not to drink water while you're eating.
And now I know not to drink water while I'm eating. Because I have my 20-ounce water bottle here. We go through a few of those. We go up to 5 to 6 of those a day. Most of the time it's while I'm eating as well. So, but then I also have a missing part of a saliva gland missing on this side as well due to a benign tumor that was in it. But you know, that's another story for another day.
Exactly.
Yes. So we're out of time. This went so fast.
Oh. It went fast. I know, but thank you. I can't wait to be on next month, and you know, we'll share more. We'll see what listeners want.
Nicole, I can't thank you enough for agreeing to be our health specialist for this journey on helping people to live their best life now in the healthiest way possible. It's going to be amazing. I know some of just a little bit of the knowledge that you have, and I know there is so much more out there, and the help that we can, you know, the advice that we can give to people suggestions that we can give to them on things they might like to try and that sort of stuff is going to help people live their best life now. We'll start to, even if somebody just out of this goes like I've learned today, don't drink water while eating. Have a little bit before, have a little bit after, and not guzzle it. So that's something that I've learned. So I've had as a takeaway. And if we can get people just to take one thing away and do one thing each time to help them improve their lives so they can live their best life now, then, it's all worth it.
Yep, let's do it. I can't wait.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much for being on. I appreciate it. I appreciate you. And if you'd like to contact Nicole and find out more about what it is she does with the cellular health and the blood work and all those other things that we mentioned, you can reach her at Nicole at NicoleLanni.com.
Yep.
So, and I should have just had that running along the ticker tape at the bottom. We'll remember that for next time.
We'll do it next time.
We'll do it next time. So that's us. That's us for this evening. Hope you'll have a super fantastic, sparkling rest of your evening. We will catch you back here. And tomorrow we have yet another guest for you guys. I am going through my people of who do I know that can help enrich people's lives so that they can live their best life now before they take the dirt nap. So, Nicole, thank you again to everybody else out there. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching. We appreciate you. Have a super fantastic, sparkling evening, and we'll see you back here tomorrow. Hei konara.